Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Stayin 2800. Tonight we've assembled a great Marvel team up. Nick, member of the Security Council, you're joining me to talk episode 3 of Falcon and Winter Soldier called The Power Broker. How are you doing tonight, Nick?
I'm doing well. Things are good. I'm enjoying this run so far.
It's been we took last week off. I needed a break, unfortunately, but episode 2 was awesome, and I'm happy to say that my expectations keep getting met and surpassed. Really liked episode 3, but tell me your thoughts about episode 3, Power Broker.
I thought that this was it's it's a fitting halfway point so far. Like I don't know if people realized that we're halfway through, but it,
Yeah.
it definitely feels like a turning point. Like
Yes.
there's some big stuff. There's still I kind of worried they're still introducing characters and concepts, but I think they're like they're gonna stick the landing. like these concepts that they've introduced, and I'm sure we'll get into it, but like Madripoor is a big name drop. And I know
Huge.
everyone was like, oh, this like city in the X-Men comics, like, are they setting up mutants again? And like, I'm just gonna say that like we're probably too early for mutants, but I was immediately thinking of Spider Woman. There was a run on Spider Woman that Alex Maleev worked on like way early, where she was like investigating something in Madripoor, and I was just like, oh, this is like real gritty, and like the way that they have the way that they convey their fictional places, because the Marvel universe is very much like, this is New York and this
Yes.
is this is Chicago, and like then they have like Latveria, and I couldn't tell you how many times I had,
Genosha.
yeah, and Madripoor is one of
Yeah,
those
and
cities, like
Madripoor. Yeah.
Wakanda. Like there are certain ones
Wakanda.
that like poke through, and this was when I was like, oh, you can get interesting, and I really like how they conveyed like high town and low town, and like this kept it real simple, and and it was a low barrier of entry, and I think it was fun. I think it was. I don't know. I was very impressed with how uh, quickly they caught you up. Like even Agent 13, Sharon coming back, like
Yeah.
stole your wings to save his ass from,
His
like,
ass. Yeah.
yeah, from his ass, like, and you're there, like you've caught up now. So I don't know. It was again full of Easter eggs, but they also very quickly caught anyone up who
Yes.
wasn't in the know.
I couldn't agree more. And to go with what you're talking about, when we were doing WandaVision, I remember getting to the midpoint episode, episode 5 or 4, whenever, because I for the longest time I thought it was only gonna be 8 episodes. I think at episode 4, I'm like, this is supposed to be the midpoint, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to care about. Whereas this, now that we are literally halfway through, I understand the team structures. Um, So we have Bucky and Sam and Zemo now trying to find the Flag Smashers because the Flag Smashers have stolen 20 vials of super serum from the Power Broker. And they are trying to go back to a world without borders, a world that existed during the 5 years of the blip. So we have that. That's one frame. Then we also have Agent Carter, Sharon Carter, Agent 13, who has kind of been running some things in Madripoor, which was cool to see. She's like kind of living in the gray, um, has her dealings there. And we also have whoever the power brokers guys are definitely going to come after the flag smashers, and I assume they're going to come up against what I'm calling Team Zemo now because I've just like demoted Bucky and Sam to second class
They just
citizens after
need
this
somebody
episode.
to tell them what to do.
Literally, like Zemo is. We'll get into Zemo. That's great. And then we also have John Walker, Captain America, on the hunt as well. So there's a lot of intersecting things, but kind of all after the same thing. Like I know what I should care about. I know what for the most part, what side everyone is on, and there's obviously varying degrees of gray in that. But it's
Yeah.
super interesting to see those different points of view on the same situation. So I really like that I have stakes of what's going to happen, and where I think a lot of these things are going to go. And I feel confident that they're going to be able to stick the landing and tie all of this up neatly because I feel it's all woven together really well.
The relation is clear and obvious, and yeah, I'm with you there. I think that everybody's operating in that fundamental gray area.
Yeah.
Um, even the most sure of them, like even Sam is doubting himself, like for having given away the shield, and
Yeah.
wanting like I think he just like stumbled upon this, like it just sort of feels, yeah, like his stakes I think are low. Um, well, or his stakes started low. Like he
Yeah.
was investigating. It seemed kind of like wasn't his precedent for this like Red Wing spotted something, like spotted like the flag
His
smashers
yeah,
that
his contact got beat up in the first episode. At
right.
the end of the first episode, yeah. So
So
he
he's
was
just
going
like,
into investigate. Yeah.
yeah, and now like that's escalated to we've broken Baron Zemo out of jail and
Right. And
we're
there
in.
are 20 potential super soldiers.
Right, which yeah, I think him and Bucky are coming at this from protecting Cap's legacy.
Yeah.
I have my opinions on where Sharon fits in on all this. I think obviously Zemo doesn't want to see a world of super soldiers,
No.
and then Walker's a wild card. Like Walker is not Steve Rogers. I think he
No,
wants
he's
I think he
not.
wants this serum for himself. Like I think he feels inferior. He's got that god complex going, but he's under the guise of like good old soldier boy.
Which is interesting too, because they did such a big deal of showing. I think they did a really nice job in the first couple episodes humanizing Walker, and they even mentioned that he's won 3 medals of honor,
Yeah.
which is
Oh,
basically like insane. So the fact that because I totally read the same thing you did, it's like he wants the serum for himself. He wants to be Cap, but
he's keeping
and
a lid on it right now,
he's
but
keeping a lid on it. But I totally read the same thing. But I think we're gonna maybe get a little callback to that scene in First Avenger where um, Dr. Erskine tells the Steve Rogers the serum doesn't just make you strong;
amplifies.
it amplifies what's already inside.
Yeah.
So bad becomes worse, good becomes great.
And yeah, it's it was so, I mean, that the introduction of him was good because I wanted to hate him, and it was sort of like
They do a great job.
there's really not much to hate about this guy. Like,
No,
I mean, he calling Sam and Bucky Cap's wingmen was a low blow.
at the end of that episode, they really turn it on a dime. You're like, oh yeah, okay, we're back on hating this guy. Like screw him. But they
We
do a
wanted
really
you to
good
not be
job
sure
setting him up.
immediately. Yeah.
Yes, but yeah, screw this guy.
We had to earn
Um,
hating him, so
right. All right, let's do some in and outs and break down the episode. Let's start with the prison break. In or out on the prison break?
I was in on that. I thought that was a pretty interesting way to do it. Like I like that Bucky just sort of did it and didn't tell Sam, and the way they framed it, where he was sort of, I mean, you as the viewer knew that it was probably happening like in real time. I guess you weren't sure until the very end if it was like a flash forward of him like describing the heist, or if it was like almost the meta narration of what was really going on. Um, as he broke the news to Bucky or broke the news to Sam slowly. But I was in on that. I thought that was an interesting way to do it. Even just Bucky's time in the prison, like that was such a perfect way to reintroduce the character with him saying the Winter Soldier activation words to no effect, and like just being
Yeah,
like, I'm screwing with you.
right.
Like let's just get that out of the way. I hate you still. Like, it was
Yeah,
never not even that though. It was really, he was like, it was never personal. Like
no,
I
he was
have,
just a tool.
yeah.
Zemo is a schemer. I'm in on this sequence, but I do have one nitpick. Um,
Let's hear it.
why didn't Zemo go to the raft? Like, why is he just in a regular prison?
Because I think he's just a regular guy.
Yeah, no, he is a regular. He's not enhanced by any way, but I'm just
Yeah.
surprised that Ross after
I
getting Zemo and was like, oh, this guy is. And I think the answer is probably like Marvel didn't want to have to pay to like like do scenes of the raft, and how are you going to get Zemo out of the raft? Like, I think it's more of a practical storytelling thing, to
maybe,
not
but
have him
he's
there. But like, my initial thought is there's no way that like Tony Stark wouldn't have Zemo absolutely sent to the raft immediately.
I maybe I think the raft was for enhanced individuals. Like I don't think like you
Yeah,
said
but Hawkeye
he's
and
a
Ant-Man were in
schemer.
there.
Okay. I don't
And
know
I
that
think
anyone
they
fully
said,
understands Ant-Man's. I don't know that anyone
no,
understands how
that's,
Hank's Pym's thing work. And Hawkeye was an Avenger and
yeah,
a
it's
agent of Shield. So
I can get behind either way. I just my again, I was really on the scene. It doesn't really take anything away, and this is a
right.
major nitpick. But my initial thought was, feel like he should be in the raft. But that's that's maybe just my comics like building Zemo up than what we actually got. But all right, so we're in on the prison break. Okay, and then we basically jump right into Madripoor. So I know we touched on this a little bit, but how did you feel about the portrayal of Madripoor? And kind of give us, actually stepping on Kong's corner a little bit. So Madripoor, as you mentioned, there's a bar in Madripoor in the comics that like Wolverine owns, and a bunch of
Right.
characters have filtered through here. It's kind of like, I'm gonna use my Pirates reference. It's kind of like a Tortuga. It's like an island or a place where people go, and it's just like a lot of shady back dealings, a lot, kind of like anything goes type of place,
Yeah, it's like
off the radar.
it's your X-Force, your Wetworks team, your
Yeah,
off the books like place where uh Boy Scouts go to die. So
perhaps
um
Thunderbolts.
perhaps it seems fitting.
Yeah,
Um and we can talk about Thunderbolts in a second, but as far as the
yeah.
Madripoor bar goes, uh that was I think that was it was a good use of again some real quick non-verbal things like on the bridge before they get in the car like Zemo basically is like you stay in character or we're dead. Like you have to stay in character.
Right.
And I was a little disappointed in Sam making that whiskey face over the like snake testicles or whatever the hell he was eating.
Yeah.
Like from the shot glass there. I was like, it's like he grimacing? Is he like this smiling tiger? Like, is he gonna blow it already? Like,
Right.
like, and it was fine. It was just I kind of wish he had stone faced it. Like Sam's a soldier. Sam's an Avenger.
I know, again, the Marvel universe just keeps watering down Sam. It's very frustrating.
But I mean he took it, he did it, it was fine. And I think that was, you know, like Bucky immediately getting that recognition, um like as the Winter Soldier, and
Yeah.
like just have like look, he's not rusty at all. Like I think it was a good like the lack of reaction from people to this guy with a metal arm showing up who's like notoriously like 100-year long assassin. Like, that's I think that kind of established exactly the kind of place that Madripoor, or at least the lower, what is it, the lower city? Is that what they call it? Upper
Um,
city, lower city,
High Town and Low
high
Town.
town and low town. There it is. Yeah. All I could think of was it was kind of like a cyberpunk or Deus Ex
Yeah.
feeling like city, like, and I think that's cool. Like I think that's a good modern read of what this like lawless pirate, like you said, like this lawless Tortuga place would be.
Right.
So I was in on the bar scene. I think it did. I think the show has really hit the stride of like establishing something very quickly within the rules of what the characters would see and do and feel, and like it just immediately
Absolutely.
connects with the audience.
Yep. Totally agree. And I also loved. I know we talked about this in the first episode a little bit. That I always get a little frustrated since Captain America: The Winter Soldier that it seems like Bucky is less competent than Winter Soldier. But then in this episode, when he is pretending to be the Winter Soldier, like he immediately snaps back, and they even bring back his theme. like that scream, that wail that you hear that is associated with the Winter Soldier in that movie. So I loved all of that. I was very there for that. I thought that was a really cool, having Zemo say like attack soldier and then having Bucky do all that. I thought that was really cool. And Bucky obviously struggling with the fact that he's hurting people and he's not supposed to. A lot of stuff. And again, just another way of the show bringing back the earlier plot threads of like he's in therapy and he's trying to work through his demons, but he literally has to adopt the persona that he has been pardoned of.
Yeah, he's leaving this behind, but
not
how
really.
far behind? Yeah.
And the show does a really good job with dealing with those things in all the characters, because as we jump from the Madripoor scene, then we get the reappearance of Sharon Carter, Agent 13, who has basically just dipped into the gray, and is selling stolen art and straight up killing people in the streets to back Bucky and Sam. And then we get the party sequence. So what did you think about the party sequence? Obviously, we're all here for the Zemo dance.
I had a good chuckle with the Zemo dance. I think the party sequence was a good use of their airtime. Like it was a good way to establish like this is how it, like you almost think like her life seems kind of better now. Than
she's
working
rich.
the CIA. Yeah, she's rich. She seems to have some influence, and I have a theory on that we'll hopefully get into.
Yeah, we will.
I mean, again, her connections seemed a little what's the word, like is it Deus Ex Machina, like a little sort of convenient, like plot convenience or whatever.
Yeah,
to have her do that, like if there's anything on this list that I'm out on, it probably is the party sequence. Like did they need to do a whole party thing? Maybe not, but it did quickly establish like how she's been, basically, like very quickly. So I'm dipping a toe.
I thought it was fun. Nothing will ever be, and I think to your point, the party sequence in Age of Ultron is so good because we get all of those nice character moments. I think that there was a missed opportunity here, actually, for Sam and Bucky to have a little bit of a friendship moment. There's plenty in this episode where they do have, like, there's a moment when they walk into the thing, or when they walk into Sharon's place, and Sam's like, there's no way this is real. And Winter Soldier's like, yes, we steal all this stuff all the time. Like, and then Sam starts looking it up. He's like,
fake, yeah.
Sam's like, what is, and then Sam starts looking it up, and Bucky says, what does Google say? It's like, you get their banter is really nice. But I think there was a missed opportunity in the party sequence. If you're going to do it, to commit to just a nice character beat. It didn't have to be with Zemo because we've just met him, and we don't have to be best friends with Baron Zemo yet. But yeah, no, I was, again, I think I agree with your assessment. We're tentatively in on this. So after the party, we then jump to them finding the scientist in the hangar, who reveals that after the blip, he was able to finish his research and make 20 vials of the super soldier serum for the power broker, which were then stolen by the Flag Smashers. So we now get what that relationship is. So the power broker is after the serum, and the Flag Smashers are the ones that have it. And then in that sequence, Zemo does go rogue a little bit and kills the scientist so that no more can be made. So what did you make of this scene?
I mean, this scene was, first of all, the scene was set up pretty great with the interrogation going on inside, and like you said, Sharon just killing people like out in the open just to protect them. And obviously it came to a head when Zemo decided to do his thing. It's funny because you get this guy, like something that First Avenger did that was good, that was cool, was they make you kind of give a shit about Erskine, or yeah, like he seems like a good guy. He's almost like a mentor to Steve in a way, like seeing what everybody doesn't see. Like he's that cool calm center. Like obviously, and I'll never recall the name of Tommy Lee Jones's character in the movie right now, but as his commanding officer, like he plays that gruff military whatever guy. But Dr. Erskine is charismatic for a scientist, and he's got a good, you know, he's got good levity to him. Makes that joke about like, oh, German scientist, what could go wrong with that? Like, making light of a bunch of stuff, and it's yeah, I don't know. I think this guy was kind of like fodder, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like he's just sort of introduced and brought, like, what makes him special? What makes him this successful person since, you know, it just, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it would feel too stilted if it had to be a named character that like one of those things, like it's always going to be one of these guys kind of thing. Like it's always going to be somebody we know doing this stuff.
Yeah. Right.
But it definitely felt like he was sort of just in service of connecting these threads for the sake of the show, and that's fine. So like I didn't really like I get why Zemo killed him. I didn't really care that Zemo killed him.
No.
But I think it'll be interesting. I liked the explanation, like he had been working on it and then he got dusted and then came back, and and it's the CIA connection that kind of really like triggered something in my head, and I'm like peeing myself to get there. I keep like dipping back to it every time, so we'll get there. So I'm in on what it does for the show, but it just kind of was. I'm probably just one rung below being in on this than I was on the party.
Yeah. I didn't love it. I think it was necessary because we needed the information. We needed to move the plot forward. We needed the exposition dump a little bit about what was going on and how there was more super soldier serum, since the last time we saw super soldier serum around was at the beginning of Civil War in Howard Stark's trunk that the Winter Soldier then stole, and then made the other super soldiers with. So we needed that exposition dump. I didn't care about the scientists. I was glad that Zemo just kind of took care of it, to show like he is clear on this motive. Like he actually does want to stop this from happening. When it started to blow up and he bailed, I suspected he was just going to bail and then kind of be a counter force to them. But he comes back, he puts on his awesome purple mask and just kind of wrecks shit, and it was awesome. So I loved that. That's why I've taken to calling it Team Zemo.
Yeah, I
love his dynamic, and we're gonna get more to that in a minute. But really cool there, and what was I gonna say about Sharon? I don't know. Here's what I was gonna say about this sequence. I can never take a sequence that is in the middle of shipping containers seriously again since Batman Begins, because I will only ever associate an action sequence with that sequence. Like it was so well done in Batman Begins that I'm always just waiting for someone to turn a corner and yell like, "Where are you?" or something. So as Sharon is whipping around these things, I just that's all I'm thinking of in my head. So I think we need to put a moratorium on shipping container action sequences in any movies ever again.
I literally said I was triggered because of the Suez Canal. I was like, this is too soon. You can't. You should have edited this out, like like the Trade Center in Spider-Man. Like, you gotta get rid of it. It's too soon.
Yep. Okay, so 2 more things. We have the Flag Smashers stealing like supplies from various facilities, and then also blowing up and straight up killing, like terrorizing people for the sake of the greater good. It seems that Carly is the leader of this, and she says this is the only language they understand. And it doesn't seem like her team is fully on board with the fact that they're killing innocent people to make their statement. So what did you make of the Flag Smashers in this episode?
I was kind of okay with their cause right up until that moment. I was like, yeah,
Sure.
what? Like, if anything was going to unite the world, terrible alien invasion seems like it would do it. Like, I think I've joked recently that the real world has showed us anything these past few years, it's that some people would definitely side with the aliens. And I guess that's kind of what the Flag Smashers are to a lesser degree. Um, I, I, I don't think it was. Um, yeah, I don't know what the motivation was. Like, I just feel like she's angry, and I'm wondering if it's some of that serum amplifying the bad, like if it's some of that resentment
Yep.
that's truly corrupting her. Um, and if it goes back to the first Avengers movie. Everything special about you came out of a bottle, and then we see that that might not have been the case. Like, it's really the thing that was special about Steve was who he was. Um, so I don't know. I guess that kind of feels like a cop out, like, like a Spider-Man 2. Like, there's thinking in my head, like, oh, he's not really the bad guy. It's the machines talking to him. Like, sure, but sometimes the bad guys can just be bad. Like, and I think that's what, like Zemo is that lawful evil. Like, Zemo so far is the closest I would say we have to like a Victor Von Doom, where it's like, I have a code, I operate by it. I'm not a dick. Like, I'm just following the rules that I value. And right now we've got some pretty like chaotic stuff happening with the Flag Smashers that isn't really, as of yet, I think, fully earned. So it definitely felt random. Like, it felt like an escalation, and I'm hoping that there's a payoff for why it's happening.
Yeah. I think we'll get it. I like this because I think it gives a little bit more heft to the Flag Smashers. So they're not just beating people up in streets and stealing money and supplies. Like, they're terrorists. So it kind of it ups the stakes, which I think at the midpoint of the show was needed. So I was there for that. Um, and then finally, we get Team Zemo on the trails of they're kind of like one step behind the Flag Smashers, following their trail. And as they walk up, Bucky is hearing a sound and he's seeing some leftover Kamoyo beads, which, if you are familiar with Black Panther, you know immediately comes from Wakanda. He turns the corner to find Io, who is one of the Dora Milaje, and she says that she is there for Zemo, which I was not expecting, but super pumped about because this is not the first Wakanda reference. He has mentioned it a couple of times. It's come up a couple of times, so we know that it's part of his history, and we know that Zemo is responsible for the death of King T'Chaka and T'Challa's ascendancy to the role of Black Panther and King of Wakanda. So it makes complete sense that the second Zemo gets out of prison, that
They
the Dora
mobilize.
Milaje are there. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I am there for that. I would love for Io to join Team Zemo a little bit though. Like, I would love for a conversation between the two of them and to kind of make somewhat of a team going forward. Eventually we're going to need Sam to lead the team. He's going to have to become Captain America. So he's going to have to be the peacekeeper here. So I think that's where the show that would be my guess, is that the next episode, Io's gonna look to jump in the mix there, grab Zemo. Bucky's gonna try to defuse the situation, but Sam is gonna need to step up and be like, "Hey, there are bigger things up. Like, we'll give you Zemo at the end, but we need to focus
Right.
on this." So, but I loved that. What did you think about the um, having Io show up at the end of the
I
episode?
was I was all in on that. So I actually had the Wakanda twist, like, oh, that Wakanda reference or whatever. Like, I opened uh my weather app or something, or I just opened Google and it had something about Wakanda, and I was like, ah, geez, come on, guys. Like, and then they mentioned it earlier in the episode. They said something about Wakanda, and I forget the exact specific. I was like, oh, I guess I've told myself, like, the spoiler wasn't so big. And then there was the twist at the end, so I was like I thought I had it spoiled, and then my guard was down, and then I was right back up, like, oh,
Yeah,
this was huge. Um, and I think that like you said, it like it really grounds Bucky's character arc. Like it was a part of who he was, like, and it was a part of who he was that we didn't really get to see over the course of the Captain America trilogy, and it was only like loosely referenced, in Infinity War and um not really even an Endgame at all. Like, it was just sort of like, like we knew he was there, we knew that's how they deprogrammed him, and that was kind of it. So to see him have this, like, ingratiated connection to them, like, it's a good thing. And I saw some cool ass theories pop up, like is he part of that team now? Is he an agent of Wakanda? Is he, like, and that all seems pretty plausible. He kind of owes them a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the White Wolf is a character, if I'm not mistaken, and is actually a member of the Wakanda King T'Challa's like secret service. There are different subsects of security forces that he employs. Obviously, the Dormelage is the main guard of the king, but then there are like spies that he employs, and I believe the White Wolf is a character that kind of is like the spy master. It's obviously not Bucky
in the
Barnes,
comics, yeah.
Yeah, but
what a utilitarian way to get it done.
Yeah, exactly. But it's definitely in the mix there. So an interesting development. I love that thread. I'm all for seeing more of Wakanda. It's with a twinge of pain because we did lose Chadwick Boseman, so it's like every time Wakanda's mentioned, it's tough because we're not going to be able to get that amazing performance again from him as T'Challa, and we might not even get the character of T'Challa in the MCU again, which obviously it's a greater loss to lose Chadwick Boseman than to lose a character in a movie, but in terms of the greater tapestry of the Marvel Universe, he was going to be a big piece. Obviously one of the standouts, so it's always tough, but always here for more Wakanda. So I sent you a couple of questions, and we're going to get into... let me start with this one. And this was the first thing that jumped out at me. So Zemo is represented very interestingly in this episode. And to me, when I watch this episode, I'm all on board the Zemo that they've landed on. But I completely was like, this is a different character than the character that was in Civil War. So I didn't know what your reaction to that was, because to me, he reads totally different. In Civil War, he seemed like a very straight and narrow. I have a strategic plan. I'm a soldier. I'm a tactician. I am like a shark. I am on the hunt for like one thing, and I am kill, 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 kill until that is done. And then I wanted to kill myself because my mission was done. And here he's presented more light. He's kind of like joking around. He's dancing. He's a little bit more amped up all the way. Like, he even makes the reference of like, oh, I'm a rich guy, and he's wearing fancy coats.
I like when he shuts Sam down. Like, Sam's addressing again, some of the larger racial commentary. Like, it's like, there's something wrong because I look like a pimp, and he's just like, please, Sam, only an American would think that a fashion forward black man is a pimp. Like,
right.
It was so perfect. like this, I don't know, it was a really interesting dynamic that they played at. I guess I kind of think about it like in the movies, you're catching him in a very specific window. Like he is kind of grieving at that time.
Sure.
And you're catching him like in his grief. And I guess we don't know if he dusted. We don't know. I don't think that was established, was it? Like, we didn't see if he got to live for 5 years and everybody else didn't. Like, we know he was in prison.
I feel like he might have said something about how long he was in prison, but it's definitely not explicitly mentioned if he got blipped or not.
So blipped, dusted. But yeah, we and again, I feel like you catch him in this moment of grief and this like horrible rampage that he's on. Um, and I'm not making excuses for his behavior in Civil War. Like he's a dick. Um, he's 100% a dick, as John C. Riley would say.
I was gonna say, was that a Guardians reference?
It was, um, but it's sort of like okay, so he's been imprisoned for at least 5 years, more than
Hmm.
probably since that happened. Like that's the thing. Like the MCU jumped ahead 5 years to 2023, and I think by the time we catch up to the movies, we're actually going to be in 2023, and I don't know if they planned that on purpose or
The
it's
timeline is a little
insane.
wonky. Yeah.
It is a little wonky. Yeah, it definitely gives you something to think about. So I guess he can. I don't want to say change, but he like we can see a different side of him. Like I'm sure he wasn't like he had a family. I'm sure he wasn't always like laser focused on making the Avengers kill each other. I guess the thing that I have floating
Sure.
around in my head is Mad Men. Like Mad Men kind of starts in media res on Don Draper's life, and it ends very much the same way, like where he's moved on. Like you see sort of like what he's left in his wake. You see his daughter sort of like taking up the mantle of his ex-wife. Um, and it was all like I remember not knowing how to feel about it in the moment, but then I was sort of like, oh, this is like a Ulysses story where we kind of like come in the middle and end in the middle, and it's very like cyclical. So I wasn't fully ready to write off Zemo's performance and the way he was presented in this as like an entirely different character. So like I can see why you asked that question, like because he doesn't necessarily feel the way he did in Civil War, but I'm sort of like does he still fit like most of those parameters? It's questions I ask myself session to session playing Dungeons and Dragons. Like, is this something my character would do? Like,
Yeah,
I
that's
feel
an
like I did
interesting
it
way to
kind of
think about it.
differently last time. So
There was nothing that jumped out that was like, whoa, that's really weird. Like he still had the air of superiority, and in the action sequence, I'm like, okay, this feels right. But the reason I asked this question is because of the second question I asked you is that um, I've long thought, and this is not a unique thought of mine. This is something that I think the fans have been trying to piece together. Is that it seems to be the Thunderbolts are forming, or some version of that team, whether they're called that or not. Um, I'm not saying we're going to get Red Hulk, but maybe we'll get Red Hulk. Definitely not in this show, I don't think. But Zemo in the comics has been one of the members and leaders of the Thunderbolts. So I'm wondering if they are doing a little bit of character, what I like to call in Star Wars canon cleanup. If they are making him a little bit more approachable, a little bit more, um, they're rounding his edges so that he can lead the Thunderbolts and be more of a palatable anti-hero rather than just a straight-laced bad villain. So do you think that this I think he'd be great. Like I said, I was in on this version of Zemo. Um, and I think it's a really interesting portrayal. Daniel Bruhl is awesome, and
Mhm.
like he's phenomenal. So I would love to see this version of Zemo run the
I,
Thunderbolts. Do you think he can do it?
I definitely think that this could have been like a test drive for them to kind of get that out there, kind of like Berthol's Punisher in Daredevil on Netflix.
Exactly right.
Like hey, we're like I don't even know if they intended that when they ran that season, but he did the character and it was like give this man a show. Like this is his character, um,
Absolutely.
and I like that. Would you call it a retcon cleanup or is
I
that
In Star Wars I call it a
canon
canon
cleanup?
cleanup. Yeah.
Gotcha, canon cleanup. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That I mean, it definitely could be uh, a step towards that for sure. I think he could carry it, like at least in the version that we've got presented here. I guess it
Me
depends
too.
on what the next three episodes do. But I definitely don't think I think they're pulling way back on their we killed the villain. Like he's actually in a unique club of not killed the villain.
Yeah, he is. Not many have survived.
I think
I'm trying to think of
you've got
Vulture.
Abomination, Vulture,
Yeah, so Abomination is definitely on the list of potential Thunderbolt candidates,
and he's alive.
and he's alive. Um, Whiplash dead. Loki has his own show. Red Skull is the Stone Keeper on Vormir, but I guess could come back, but doesn't really fit.
Doesn't fit,
For the
yeah.
Thunderbolts, let's see, we're going to do this real quick. Ultron dead.
Allegedly. I mean, he's
Allegedly
an AI.
dead. He is an AI, but Vision burned him out of replicating, so I'm sure they could bring him back.
Ultron would be the easiest of them to bring back.
Ultron is the easiest to bring back. Ronan dead. Vulture alive. Mysterio maybe or maybe not dead. Yellow Jacket dead. Who am I missing? Baron Mordo alive, but not Thunderbolts. From Strange.
Oh, we have unreleased Taskmaster and Black Widow, Thunderbolts.
Yeah, 100%, and Yelena as well. Yeah, Batroc the Leaper, Thunderbolts for sure. General Ross, Thunderbolts. Anybody else? I don't think. I think that's basically everyone that would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ronan dead, Ego dead. None of those would be Thunderbolt candidates. I'm just really thinking.
Justin Hammer.
Justin Hammer is my Justin Hammer is like my Max Rebo of the MCU. Where please bring him back. He's phenomenal.
Sam Rockwell's the right. I mean, that could be good.
If I get a Thunderbolts movie with this version of Zemo and that version of Justin Hammer, they need to have a dance off. So yeah,
so corny. Yeah, that would be. I think that would be perfect. I was gonna say Aldrich Killian is dead, but Justin Hammer's in.
Yep. Yeah, Alexander Pierce dead. He'd be Thunderbolts material in terms of running it. But yeah, so there is definitely enough material there for a full team of anti-heroes. And then if you have it in place, because for anybody unfamiliar, the Thunderbolts is more or less Marvel's version of the Suicide Squad.
A little less dark, actually.
a little less dark. And
if you can believe that.
Punisher's been on the team. Deadpool's been on the team.
My favorite Thunderbolts run was Venom, Deadpool, Red Hulk, Elektra.
Elektra's a huge Thunderbolts. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that was such a pristine team. I just love it. It was that run with Red Hulk where he was like, we do one for you do one for me and then I do one for each of you, and it was like they were picking their missions sort of like he would be like, clean up this terrible democratic situation in some terrible country, and then we do one for you, and Frank Castle was I want this crime family eradicated, and it was so edgelord and terrible. Oh, Ghost Rider was on that team. That was
Ghost Rider. Yep.
Deadpool asking him do you brush your teeth down here in hell, and it was just how do you turn your head off? I don't. Do you brush your teeth? I can't. It's gross, man. But I just love that one because it ended with Deadpool deciding to just ditch the team and go get a pizza, and then he remembers what he's there to do, when he looks on the wall and it's the guy's there. He's like, oh yeah, and he just blows him away. Completes the mission accidentally because he's Deadpool.
Deadpool needs to be worked into the MCU.
Oh my
very
God.
quickly, and I know it's they're working on Deadpool 3, so it's happening, but having the Thunderbolts is interesting, and we will see how, because James Gunn's Suicide Squad hits theaters and HBO Max this year. So if that is successful, I think that gives Marvel all the go-ahead they need to launch. I mean, they're usually the ones that lead the charge on that, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get some kind of Thunderbolt show or even a movie announced. I really wouldn't be surprised. I think there's enough star power to carry it, especially depending on how Black Widow is going to, because I believe Black Widow's sister, Yelena, played by Florence Pugh, is going to be Thunderbolts material. Yeah, the new Widow, and also Taskmaster. So tons of
You know
potential
what would
there.
be the most amazing mic drop is if Marvel hires David Ayers to run the Thunderbolt
To run the
movie.
Thunderbolts.
Which, from what I've read, people are like, "Give us the Ayers cut," because he
That
had a
movie
lot of
is.
studio intervention to make that movie so bad. You know, that's what I've heard anyway. Like, I think they did what they did to Snyder, where it was like, "No, we want it this way," and or I guess they did
They
it to Whedon. Whedon did it to Snyder. Joss Whedon.
can absolutely tell that Suicide Squad was cut to bits. I don't know. See, and this is a weird digression, but like you can tell
Sorry.
in Justice. No, it's totally cool. I'm on it. There's you can tell in Justice League, even Justice League, that there is something in there that's appealing, and whether that was all Snyder's or not, because I was fond of Zack Snyder's Justice League cut. I thought it was super interesting, very entertaining. I thought the 4 hours was unnecessary, but it did tell a story I was interested in, and I thought all
It
the
was
characters were
coherent.
really well served. I didn't get anything out of Suicide Squad that would want me to see 1 second longer than I needed to. And I don't know. And I can't imagine that watching a 4 hour version or even a not cut up 2.5 hour version of a director's initial vision for a story that I found absolutely zero redeeming quality. Like that is, if I'm
It was
talking
pretty bad.
about all of the superhero movies ever made from any era, like that is next to like Superman 4 Quest for Peace in terms of that. Like that might be my least favorite superhero movie of all time.
It was very bad. I don't deny that it was very terrible. I do
Rough.
wonder at what point the studio intervened and how far off the rails it went. And like, I just know that he's
They
he's gone on record and been like, it's not really what I wanted.
they clearly did, but then I mean, but then where does it stop? Are we going to
Yeah.
get Josh Trank's original Fantastic Four version? I'm like, do I want to see any more of that? Guess what? I don't.
I
All
can't
right.
believe I watched that movie. Anyway,
Yeah, exactly. All right. Last up, and then
so sorry.
here I'm going to give you, because I think you've been sitting on this the whole episode. Um, my last question for this episode is the Power Broker has been named a bunch, name dropped. This episode is called Power Broker. We have no idea who the Power Broker is in the world of the MCU or the show. In the comics, he is a person. He is a character that is not like Doctor Doom or something. As fans, I'm worried that we're starting to think like, oh, who could it be?
It's
Um,
Mephisto.
right?
No, it's
Yeah,
Agatha all along,
yeah, it's
guys.
Agatha all along. Yeah, she's the Power Broker. Oh God.
If that
Um,
happens,
oh my
I'll
God.
cry.
We'll never watch another anything in the MCU. But do you have a theory on the Power Broker?
So
And
I
do you think it's going to be a big reveal?
I do have a theory. I said out loud during the episode, the moment Sharon separated from the guys in the shipping yard,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, "We have a problem." Two actually, or a couple actually, or however she put it. I'll explain in the car. And then she like gets in the car. There was something about the amount of time spent on that shot and the emphasis put on that exchange with someone who we don't know who that woman is that she's talking to.
Sure.
Um, and I feel like it's sort of like a jump cut in Fight Club where you're like he goes into his dialogue and then like you never told me your name, and then the bus goes by and it just moves on to the next sequence, and you just don't get that, and you're like, wait, we actually don't know this guy's name. Like, hold on a second. Like, I think that was kind of one of those moments, and I actually said to my wife, I was like I think Sharon might be the Power Broker. And then I read a theory online that kind of supports that explains, like, like if you listen to what the guy, the scientist said about being recruited by the CIA, like Sharon worked for the CIA, like after Shield fell apart, and he got dusted, and I kind of wonder if her I wonder if she's playing them, saying that she's like burned and she can't go home. Like, I think she might be like actually holding the post of the Power Broker, because we also don't know who killed Zemo's original content, the one who was like, "Who is Sam? Like, kill them all!" And there's some guardian angel that just takes them out, and then later you see it was Sharon taking out other people with whatever the high-powered rifle was from a distance, and it was like, were we meant to believe that she also killed this other person? Because that was how I read it. I assumed that that was
100%.
her.
I did as well,
But they
there,
never
it's not explicit. No.
So I was just sort of like, I feel like this isn't the Mephisto puzzle box. Like, this is literally like they're dropping the breadcrumbs, and I think it's that simple. Like, I really think that she is this person, and whether or not she's holding it on behalf of the CIA and the government to keep the peace in Madripoor and keep a pulse on things, maybe, or she legitimately just is the power broker. Like, it would make, she has some skin in the game to invest in this super soldier serum. Like, maybe that was her way back in originally. Like, maybe that was a deal she cut, or I don't know. I could see it working eventually. I don't know exactly all the angles that it would take, but I kind of see that would be her investment. Like Steve left a pretty big hole in the world, and someone going down that road and wanting those serum vials. Like I think Walker's gonna want to get his hands on the serum vials. I think Sharon's gonna want him to not. um,
Interesting that there's 20. We need to know how many have been used so far, and how many are left. Right? Yeah, I think they say 8 at least.
So,
yeah. I love that theory. It wasn't obviously when Sharon got in the car and said we have a couple of problems. I was like, oh, okay, is she working for the power broker? It didn't immediately jump that Sharon was the power broker, but I think you actually sent me that link, or you just texted me something about Sharon being the power broker. And I'm like, you know what? That's super clean. I think it makes sense. I like it. It's interesting. I have been tracking a different power broker reveal, and it's not crazy. And I think it also makes sense. Like, it's not. Yeah, I mean, my dream is like it's Wilson Fisk, and it's yeah, seriously, 100%. I would love that. I would die. That's my Magneto ending of this show. But no, I think if you track what's happening and you apply some comics knowledge, I wouldn't be shocked. And my theory currently that I'm ready to back your theory. I'm ready to back that Sharon is the power broker. I think it could be that simple, and I would love for the show to be that clean and that simple with its storytelling and that economical, and be like, hey, we're not gonna pull the rug out from under you. We're not gonna Agatha all along this. Like, we're being very clear about what we're doing, and it's subtle, but it's nice. It's almost like elegant in its simplicity, and well done. But I would like, and my current theory is that Ross is the power broker.
Which one, Everett or General?
General.
Okay.
General Thunderbolt Ross, because of the Thunderbolts thing and the Red Hulk thing. And because obviously we know that the gamma radiation and everything that created the Hulk was Bruce Banner's attempt to replicate the serum, which led to him becoming the Hulk and whatever. And the Red Hulk is mixed in there too. And I just feel like that's part of it. And I don't know that the power broker is going to be a concept. Knowing all the threads that have been in these 3 episodes, I don't know that the power broker is going to be a consequential to the overall narrative, as just kind of something that needs to be wrapped up at the end. So that's why I feel like it could be a Ross at the end of this show, kind of that reverse of the Nick Fury at the end of Iron Man being like, hey, I'm putting together a team and now I have 6 vials of this, and what are you going to do with them? And then there's Blonsky as Abomination, and then like we have, okay, the Thunderbolts are happening. So Ross is my hedge bet, and that was where I was thinking. And then when you flagged me to Sharon, I'm like, you know what, that was right there, and I totally missed it because I was reading too far into it. And I think that makes the most sense. So, what would you be okay if it was Ross?
If it was Ross, that'd be cool. That would be cool. Like, I think it would be unexpected, and I guess I'm taking a page out of WandaVision here, where
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily. You said pull the rug out from under you. I mean, Agatha all along, it was kind of right there. Like you sort of knew Agnes
Yeah,
was something the whole
it
time.
was
It
like
was in
two.
hindsight.
It was like two right. We're not going to relitigate WandaVision, but like,
We don't need to relive
yeah,
that. But it was pretty on the nose. Like, it was one of those
yes,
things. Like,
very,
if you didn't think there was something up with Catherine Hahn, you weren't paying attention.
yes.
Um, so I sort of feel given that parameter for the show, like, it definitely seems germane for them to keep it within their established canon and the characters that they have available. Now, again, that being said, if they were to throw Ross in like they threw Io in, and not that they just threw Io in, but Io's appearance I think was relatively unexpected.
Yeah.
We knew from spoilers that Zemo was going to be in. We knew that Agent 13 was going to be in.
Yes.
Um, we had no idea that there was going to be that like strong of a connection to Wakanda from Bucky's point of view. And I think that would be my only surprise. Like, I wouldn't have a problem with it, but it would just sort of be like, what's Ross's skin in this? Like, where is his like connection to the character? Like, it was almost like my feelings on Rhodey in the beginning, where it was sort of like really just picking the only other black guy like in the series to put it there, because Rhodey's more of an Iron Man connection than a Cap connection, in my opinion.
Well, I'm tying it all to Civil War.
Okay.
Like, if you're using Civil War as the basis, if you're using the Captain America trilogy, and specifically a Civil War as the jumping point, you have Zemo, you have Ross, you have the Sokovia Accords.
You're right.
Again,
Okay.
I think the Rhodey connection, we talked about this, the Rhodey connection
Yeah.
to me is the Air Force. But yeah, the Ross, Sharon Carter, all of that is in Civil War. Io is in Civil War. Io is the one that gets in Widow's face at the car. So
as much as I would like to see that.
yeah, exactly. So that's where I'm using as my basis. Like,
Okay.
I think that they are pulling a lot from there, and that's why I wanted the raft, because I think there's been so many Civil War references that it just makes sense.
Maybe
But
Zemo ends up there. Maybe that's where it
maybe
ends. Maybe
Zemo,
Zemo ends up
maybe
there, and that's your Ross connection.
I was gonna say, so maybe Zemo ends up there. Like, okay, we need to take Ross. We need to take Zemo back. I'm putting together my dream ending. We need to take Zemo back, and then Ross is there at the raft, and then the other cells are Blonsky and Batroc, and then Ross is like, guess what? I'm the power broker, and guess what? Now we have these vials, and
I don't even think you need Ross to be the power broker. You don't even need him to be the power broker.
You don't need to.
You can still have Sharon be the power broker, and still put Zemo on the raft, and still have Ross assemble the Thunderbolts.
I love that. If that happens, if this show ends with Ross assembling the Thunderbolts, and we get like Tim Roth as Blonsky back and Batroc, that would be awesome. So yeah, I think I've moved my chips onto your theory that Sharon is the power broker.
Okay.
So you bought me. So I'm excited. Episode 4 is coming up. We only have 3 left, which is sad, but this is essentially just a movie cut down into pieces.
I just remembered another villain we have.
Yeah.
If they want to go there, we have the leader. Okay. Stearns
we do have the leader.
Alive.
Yep, you're right.
So we don't know what happened with all that, and he was a Thunderbolt for a while.
I was going to say Thunderbolt connection for sure. Yeah, that's a good one. And there's your Blonsky and your Ross again. So
sorry,
it's there.
As I remember that, I was
totally right. No, it's a good call out. Cool. Well, this is a great episode. Power Broker is a great episode. Zemo's awesome. I'm excited to see where this goes. So we'll be tracking your theory. I wouldn't be surprised if we find out who the Power Broker is in episode 4. I think we have to do more with Sharon. And super excited to see what happens with Io and Zemo and Bucky, but Sam really has to come to the fore, I think, in these next 3 episodes.
Yeah, that's the thing that's been missing so far is like
Yes,
we keep talking about how we wanted to end with him as Captain America, but they're not there yet. They got a lot of lifting
he
to
hasn't
do.
done the work yet. Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. But
So and
we'll
a
go
second
ahead.
season's not off the table. So
Second season is not off the table, but I also wouldn't be surprised if we got Captain America 4 announced out of this and start a new trilogy. But we will see how this all shakes out. Nick, thank you again for joining this Marvel team up tonight. We'll be back next week talking episode 4. I appreciate you coming on again.
I'm always happy to do it. So.
And yeah, we'll track all the updates, tons of Marvel stuff because Loki is coming out shortly after Falcon and Winter Soldier ends. So we'll have plenty of Marvel to talk. And then we have Black Widow. So we'll be here in the 2800 for significantly longer. So we hope everybody continues to join us and watch along with us. But Nick, thank you again. And as always, take what you can, give nothing back.